The byculla times. Byculla is a suburb of Bombay and it's closer to the Central Railways than the Western Railway. And there was a time when byculla was covered. If you had to go from Churni Road, for instance, to byculla, then you could probably take a Victoria or a horse cart. Then there were the BST buses, the two-level buses that you could get from Grant Road Station. And you could even walk from Churni Road Station, because I remember that there were times when families used to come to see lights. You could even walk to Chapati, and it was far but not so far. And one of the best things that happened in byculla was they sold pav bhaji on the streets. Pav bhaji is the local food, which is like a hot soup, solid soup with potatoes and tomatoes and bell peppers and garlic and chili and onions and spices. And of course, later on they started adding a bit of cabbage and a bit of cauliflower and lots of peas. But the mainstay was potato, tomato and onions. And you could eat in byculla, you could eat on the streets of byculla, as in you would have a mattress called chatai and you could sit on it. And I know so many things about the Bhuleshwar byculla area, as it was called, because there were two areas which were very connected next to each other. There was byculla and there was Bhuleshwar. And of course there was Nagdevi, which was a business hub which had people who sold ball bearings. The ball bearing businessman, which was a very big thing in industrial India post 1960s. So the 70s, 80s, 90s had a big boom. I'm not sure of now, because my uncle was a businessman who dealt in ball bearings. byculla had some interesting places where you could have gola, or frozen ice, as it's called in some places, with syrup, or sarbat. And byculla had Jain temples also, and a lot of on this side. So byculla there was a small Persian community called the Parsis, who were Persians who had come to India. There was the Muslim community, but there was a lot of Khoja and Boris, people who spoke Gujarati, in byculla. So that's one side. And then if you went towards Bhuleshwar, then you would have a lot of Hindu community with big markets where they sell everything from shorts to cabbages to little things, firecrackers, toy guns, and what have you. And it stretched a long way. So byculla or Bhuleshwar could be reached from Marine Lines through Gaiwadi. You could reach it from Churni Road, and you could reach it from Grant Road. It was very central, and that's why it was near the Central Railways. My cousins stayed there. We have had amazing memories there. I remember how excited we were when a movie called Naseeb came into town, which was a multi-star movie like Amar Akbar Anthony, except that you don't have Vinod Khanna, you had Shatrughan Sinha. And Naseeb was interesting, but it came with a bang, and people were really excited. So in summer, I would spend my summer, and a huge part of summer, in Bhuleshwar in Bombay, and in Andheri in my uncle's house, and Balsar sometimes, where we had an aunt, and they had their own mango plantation, and they were big-hearted enough to call the whole family, despite individual alliances and grievances. So we are coming back to byculla. There are so many magical memories that I have. Sometimes we would go to Gowalia Tank and buy those comic books from West paper market shops. So all the West paper that people would collect so that they can be recycled often had comic books sold to them in weight, and then they would resell those comic books to kids who were comic book enthusiasts. They had Casper and Richie Rich and Archie and some very, very classy comic books. They had Tintin sometimes, even Asterix. So there was a store in Govalia Tank just under a bridge, a very small one, and we would go there, me and my cousin,